Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's cast of the Spy Party Hexagon Cup. My name is Dels, and joining me today is my co-caster T Flame.
How's it going?
And Lino is going to be hosting for us today as we watch two very exciting matches. First up, we are going to have Davidw versus Lazybear. That's going to be down the lower left flashing tile right now. Uh, Davidw is on the red team. Lazybear is on the purple team. And as you can see, purple has got a lot going on down there. So it's a pretty important tile for the purple team to get, and that's why I think they assigned Lazybear to it. Lazybear is the most recent SCL champion, right?
Yes, indeed. And Lazy Bear has just for many tournaments, okay, Winter Cup, yes, maybe went out a little early, but has just been a top competitive player for over the last year and has been, I'd say, probably one of the more feared players to go against, right? When you think of like the top level players, you probably think of someone like Opie, you think of maybe someone like Ligor, but then Lazy Bear too is just one of those people you don't want to ever come up against in a competitive set. But Davidw is going up against that today, and I think maybe some favorable venues for actually David here.
Yeah. So, David, if you look at what the red team did this week, the red team has assigned David two tiles this week. He only had one last week. They gave him two this time, and they both have balcony. Balcony is not a venue that a lot of people are comfortable on. So, clearly, David must have stepped up to the plate, said that he felt good on it. And if you look at the two venues that we're seeing here, balcony is something that can be a little bit swingy. It can really go either way. Yes, Lazy Bear on paper is the favorite just through the vast amount of competitive wins he has. But on balcony, anything could happen. And then you have Courtyard, which is kind of a different dynamic, right?
Yeah, 100%. Courtyard is very different in the sense that everybody, like, each of these have a couple few things that you'd expect from it. When you're talking about Courtyard, the question's always what's the fourth mission going to be. When it comes to balcony, everybody says, oh, this is a coin flip, and so those are kind of like the two narratives of the story. But for balcony's going to be really interesting, and then for Courtyard, I'm thinking for whoever's in the lead, they're just going to hold the sniper for the remaining three sniper games when you come to that.
Exactly, because a lot of people think Courtyard is quite sniper favored for that reason. It's very easy to get your first three missions. You get your flirt, you get your contact, you go do the inspects. It only needs one visit on Courtyard. But then you have to do a fourth mission. You have to either get two fingerprints or do a hardtail. And because everything is so wide open on that venue, it's kind of easy for the sniper to see you do that hardtail. And it's not rare to see snipers just trade wins back and forth. Even though Lazy Bear is a very strong player and a very strong spy, the party might just not give him what he needs. And so if they just tie Courtyard 3-3 on sniper games, balcony could go to anyone. So David is the underdog here, but it's far from impossible for him to get a win.
Yeah, and I know people will hate me for this, but I'm pretty vocal about my feelings on balcony. When it comes to these two venues, I feel like Courtyard is the more controllable one when comes to probably sniping and even on the spy side of things. And so having it be a controllable venue, that's kind of what you want. So I think whoever's coming out of balcony, possibly in the lead here, is going to have a good chance to bring things home on Courtyard. But that being said, this last year, it's always one of those things where we say, Courtyard is sniper favorite, but we see spy wins on Courtyard all the time. It's not, what it's made out to be on this very favorable sniper side. We see spy wins there all the time. So really anything could happen once you get to Courtyard.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we're doing balcony first. It would actually be quite a different dynamic if we started off with Courtyard and then went to balcony. Because if you're going into balcony already at 3-3, if you've traded sniper wins on Courtyard, that's very different than just starting with it. And then if one of the players does get a lead on balcony, they will maybe be a little bit more nervous about, yes, can I really win every Courtyard sniper game? If I have a lead on balcony and then I let a sniper game through on Courtyard, man, that'd be rough.
Yeah, and that's what it'll be interesting to see, kind of what happens here on balcony. Again, the reason why I say that these, Lazy Bear is, the top dog when it comes to this. But when I think of balcony, when I think of Courtyard, one thing David is known for is just one flirt pairing and really focusing on flirts. Because what's one mission everybody's going to do? They're going to flirt, especially on balcony. But so I say that kind of leans towards David favorite, but that's not saying that Lazy is bad at that whatsoever. So we're really going to have to see how things play out here today.
Yeah, speaking of, clutch spy wins on Courtyard, I remember back during the Winter Cup finals wasn't long ago, Opie was down by, 5 points, needed to pull one out on Courtyard and he got it. So if Lazy Bear were in the same situation, it wouldn't be impossible. It's always very exciting when those happen. We're into the first balcony game here now. We have Lazy Bear playing as Kane, starting off in conversation, getting that first flirt with Teal as the ambassador cozies up behind us.
Yeah, well, the nice thing for David here is that at least Lazy only hit a white for their first flirt, which the
Banana
most
bread.
dangerous thing. Oh, I was gonna say the most dangerous thing that can happen is a green BB and then two green flirts. But at least we don't have to be worried about that here.
Yeah, everyone was in conversation for that banana bread. Tex was taking a drink during that, so I do believe that Tex could be a low light. Ambassador has entered next to us again, but Lazy Bear is resisting the urge to go for the bug. With no second flirt coming off, though, are we going to be able to get two more in the next minute without looking like we're talking too much?
I mean, we hit another white, so I mean, we're gonna have to get really close for our next flirt here. Oh.
Wow. David is confident enough to take a shot for just two flirts and not even a white BB?
Yeah, and so okay, here's the thing too. Lazy Bear is kind of sick with the greens, all right? A little nasty with the greens. And so when you're going, let's say I'm playing against Lazy or I'm playing against Opie. I have no doubt in my mind that they are capable of hitting a three green game. And so I don't know if that's what it was. I don't know if it was the timing of Teal coming back and us talking, but a very confident shot there from David W.
Yeah, if I'm Lazy Bear, I'm starting to be very worried about how the rest of this balcony is going to go. If David keeps sniping like that and then just gets a spy win in, David could be the one coming out of balcony with a lead. David getting the first flirt here in this game as Irish. The seduction target wasn't right next to us, but we're still able to get 29% as the ST goes off for a briefcase and then immediately returns to conversation right as the flirt cooldown expires. So we might be able to get a second one.
Yeah, and I think David's going for a pretty active talk game here. We've talked two times already with only one flirt in 29, and we're gonna have to flirt here again, possibly, unless we're maybe just gonna hope for a contact. But ooh, yeah, those are I don't know. This is a really tricky spot to be in for David, having 46%, having talked three times, but maybe we're talking so much that we're not gonna be as suspicious here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were already talking when the twin entered, so we didn't want to talk again to get the flirt. But on balcony, talking twice in a row is not actually suspicious because if you're flirting, you generally need, 45 seconds or so between flirts. So it's not necessarily a problem to be seen talking
Banana
that
bread.
much.
Oh, and that's a really nice green here. Now, I think what's going to be for David is that we're kind of going to have to sit and wait. We don't necessarily want to talk again unless we can get a flirt here. But I think we're really just going to want for one of these highlights to maybe talk in the last 15, 20 seconds and really put the pressure on Lazy Bear.
Yeah, and Lazy Bear safety off on the ST. I mean, the ST was in convo at the start, then they walked out to do the briefcase. They re-entered. It could have looked like a spy resetting their flirt cooldown. The problem is the twin isn't near anyone, so that didn't look like a particularly good flirt. He's talking again, but I don't know if that's going to make Lazy Bear pull the trigger. And at just 3 seconds left, there's no time. David goes for a bug instead, but that's essentially the same thing as a timeout.
Yeah, wow. And it's yeah, there's really no if we look at the laser there's really no good point to really bug. Even though it's a contact seduce is kind of the cookie cutter way of playing a spy game on balcony, Lazy Bear was still just lasering down Am the entire time because besides talks, you don't really have much else to walk or watch. So a really good hold there. Not letting David get away with, kind of doing nothing there and just getting a green BB. And so that's definitely going to force David to play these next couple spy games a little bit differently, at least.
Yeah, I think because of the twin re entering the conversation far away from us, we just couldn't get the flirt percentage very high. And at some point, you have to make the decision to give up on flirt and just hope that the sniper shoots a civilian. And if they don't, then it's kind of out of your hands at that point. Lazy Bear now going to be spying as Teal. The score is 1-1, but I am very much looking forward to see if David can play another impressive sniper game like that first one.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if we're looking at the game right here, Lazy is playing pretty much the exact opposite of last game. Last game we did the early flirt, we waited for them to come back, but obviously David W being on top of that so much, I think we're just trying to not talk at all and maybe lower some suspicion, possibly even get a low light by not talking, being in this conversation so long. So we're really, I think we're gonna have to see if David is able to hold the same way that Lazy was and force that kind of last second bug.
Yeah, we have the double agent entering,
Banana
so we
bread.
do go for the banana bread. It's not a green, so we are seen talking, and then we break out in the middle of our talk animation. Now, Lazybear's not doing that to avoid being seen talking. It's balcony, there's not a lot going on. The sniper is going to notice if you're in the middle of a talk animation and you leave, but it can be a bit of a mind game for that reason, because why would the spy do that? Maybe they're just an AI who naturally got interrupted by someone else.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. We have Kane picking up a little bit of suspicion and kind of doing spy-like behavior here of going from window to window, maybe to act less suspicious. So we'll have to see what Kane does by going, no, doesn't go back into combo, but General does. Salmon picks up a highlight. So now we have 4 people, Lazy Bear being one of them as a marked spy suspicious.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh, Lazybear going for a
Oh.
bug, entering the conversation there. No reaction from
Yeah.
David. Yes, we're panning over and we're lining up the
All right.
shot.
I'm gonna try not to cheer. I'm a little biased here. All right. I don't know why I'm cheering. I need to be a professional. All right. I need to be a professional here. But David is on my team. All right. But that's a big sniper win. I thought for a second, like you were saying, I wasn't seeing much of a reaction, and sure enough, David W is on top of it.
It's really unfortunate for Lazybear that he picked up that highlight, because the whole point of Lazybear's game was to look as AI-like as possible. Just never talk, leave the convo in the middle of your talk during that BB. It was all meant for David to think, nah, it's not teal, I'll shoot someone else. Oh my god, David is
Oh.
starting this next game off immediately with a small bug.
Dude, that was the same thing where I thought like they got away with it at first, and then they didn't. But fair enough. Fair enough.
Right. Well, despite David having these, seemingly dominant sniper games, the score is still just tied 2-2 because David has lost both spy games there. So going into our final 2 games of balcony, this is the last chance for either of these players to break serve before going into courtyard, which, like we said, might just trade sniper wins back and forth. So this could be the decisive moment of the set.
100%. And it has been cool though to see that both of these
Banana
players
bread.
play kind of some different styles here. And they're, like I was saying earlier, Lazy Bear being one of those people that you can assume will probably hit some greens. And it
Yeah.
looked like we might go for a similar strat as last game.
That's what I was thinking. Generally, if you did a strat in one game and you know the sniper knows that you were doing it, you might not repeat it. But when you look at how the last game ended when Lazy Bear was spy, he picked up the highlight anyway, despite not flirting, and then he got shot for bugs. So he might think, David doesn't really know what I was going for. We're going to try it again. We're just going to do another game where I don't flirt.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think that has to be the play here. I mean, we might go for a late flirt, but I don't know. It looks like, yeah, we are sticking to it. We have, y'all, there it is. And there's the payoff that we're talking about.
Yeah, see? And like I'm saying, if David knew last time that that's what Lazy Bear was going for, he might be like, you know what? Lazy Bear's been playing these games where he purposefully lays low to get low lit. I'm not going to fall for it. But I think because David ended up highlighting him and shooting him for a bug, he didn't get that that's what Lazy Bear was going for. So now Lazy Bear does it again, and David just thinks, oh, okay, this twin hasn't been doing much. Gonna low light them. And unfortunately, shot comes off on a civilian. David lets one of the sniper games slip.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I think balcony is something where it's super hard to snipe against, especially against somebody like Lazy. That I don't know. They just know so much about the game. They're very smooth. They're very methodical about how they play. So it's just really hard to get a lot of information off them in such a small area. And so I'm not surprised to see the sniper missing a shot. But the thing is, now we just have to return serve here and get a spy win as teal.
Yeah, and that's David's one and only chance to stay in this set. If David goes into courtyard down on the scoreline, it's going to be very hard to bring it back to a tie, much less a win. But if David can get the spy win here, then we'd be going to courtyard even. We do get highlight for an early talk, but it was a green flirt, luckily. If there's one way to win balcony, it's by hitting 3 greens.
Ooh, and the
Banana
contact
bread.
is a white. And Seek was taking a drink. Disney was doing a sip after, so Lazy is taking the freedom of getting a couple lowlights there, that are pretty tight. Watching the sorry bug here, but I think it's really going to come down to this last flirt. Are we going to do it exactly 45 seconds?
Oh! You did he actually think that Sorry took a bug there?
I don't think so. Like, how, like, there were
He was so zoomed in and he would have seen the arm. So I don't understand, but maybe he thinks that a bug happened before the moment that he was looking at, or maybe he just saw it wrong and thought the arm was returning from a bug.
I mean, at the very start of it, it looks like a little bit of a swing, but I mean, the animation's definitely longer than what could have happened there. So very interesting shot there, and I think it just been in my a small lapse of judgment there from Lazy. But for David, that's exactly what they needed. They had the early highlight, so for somebody to get shot as a sieve for possibly bugging, that's very big for David here going into Courtyard.
Yeah, that is a huge reprieve. I didn't think we were going to win that game. I thought maybe if we hit a green flirt for our second one, maybe
Hmm.
Lazy would hold. But if we had to talk two more times in addition to a white BB, I thought there was no chance. And with that zoom in on Sorry, I thought Lazy Bear would be certain no bug had happened. So I'm so surprised by that. But it's great news for David. We're going to Courtyard tied 3-3. One of these players is going to need to pull out the impossible and get a spy win on Courtyard.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see possibly even more than one spy win. I think both of these players are really solid in their spy game. I think David's really good at one hitting greens and making plays. Now, obviously, gets memed on for being slow, but a lot of times David plays slow after putting some hardtails on the screen and really putting pressure on the sniper. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some spy wins here. And obviously, Lazy Bear is Lazy Bear.
Yeah, Lazy Bear is definitely one of the best spies in the game, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some clever plays here on Courtyard. The thing is, it still depends on what the party gives you. Sometimes even the best spy doesn't have much they can do on Courtyard if the party doesn't give them the opportunity.
Yeah, and something there's one thing you can always be tracking, and I know it would have been a little bit harder for Lazy to see where, but I'm pretty sure there's a statue print somewhere. That's something that you can let sit for a while. Prints can often go a long time without getting picked up here, especially the statue ones on Courtyard. So there's definitely some plays to be had.
Exactly. A difficult print can always be a good strategy as well. If you go for a difficult drink print and you hit it, you have a much, much easier path ahead of you. But looks like all we've been doing so far is timer flirting. We're not even right next to Duke, so we're only at 61%. And I think Lazy Bear doesn't want to wait for the third one. It would be too much time spent waiting. We move on over here. We're not going to go for the contact. We're not in a position to bug the ambassador. The only thing I can think of that we would want here is maybe the
Banana bread.
briefcase.
And this is interesting because we're going for a fake, but we have the SDA with us, which Lazy Bear wouldn't know. But one thing to know is this party is just not very active. We've had what, one, maybe two statue visitors, which is not putting a lot of pressure on the sniper. So the sniper is really able just to focus on Toby, on the ambassador, and just watch these statues. No real pressure in combos.
Yeah, I think maybe the plan would have been to get the briefcase and then go get a statue print at some point, but nothing working out. Lazy Bear goes to the other side of the venue, completely hidden by the pillar, and takes a time ad. Looks like David has noticed
Yeah.
it though, and is taking some lowlights. And Lazy Bear is not one of them. He's highlit now.
Yeah, this is a really scary spot for Lazy. I mean, if you're picking up a highlight before going into statues on Courtyard, things aren't looking promising. And so I think David W is on top of this and hasn't low lit the full party, has definitely gotten a couple, but it's basically just pushing Lazy. You got the highlight, now do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a really good catch from David. Just a random time ad in the middle of the game, not even on screen, so he couldn't necessarily tell that someone was at Windows checking their watch. I think that's a really good catch. And maybe the reason why he caught it is because he also noticed that the party was so slow and thought, you know what? Spy doesn't seem to be doing anything. I bet they're going to need a time ad. Ooh, some guests coming back up from low light to neutral, though. Maybe David's not so certain after all.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, as long as David doesn't shoot someone, it's really just gonna be asking Lazy to do something. And David's on top of this. Yeah, 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 yeah. Lazy was going for a cheese there and try to go into that outside combo away from Anvo, away from Toby. But unfortunately, as we're rotating, David W is able to catch it. And it didn't help that Ambo was walking behind us in that moment. But that's a big sniper win.
Yeah, and that's sort of what we were seeing earlier during the Snipe Arcade finals as well. One of the most powerful things that you can do on Courtyard is try to go into a statue and swap it without being seen, but it's an all or nothing play because if you are seen at the statue, I'm going to see you dashing out of there and it's such an easy bullet.
Yep. And now, like we said, though, I think the big part of Courtyard is really going to be getting that spy win. And so, David W., what are they going to do to kind of put the pressure on Lazy? Because imagine, imagine David winning spy here, going up 5-3 on Courtyard, sniping next. That would be huge. And so, David W., if they can get a spy win here, I think their chances of winning are highly likely.
Yeah, and I think David was placed on this tile because he is quite comfortable with Courtyard. I remember he did really well in the Courtyard venue tournament as well. He made a lot of unconventional plays. I think I remember him doing a lot of fake banana breads and it worked out for him. But there's a reverse
Wow.
drive-by bug.
Wow. And honestly, there wasn't that much cover for it. Obviously, besides Amber walking behind us, the arm was sticking out. But for some reason, Lazy Bear is just a little bit off the bugs today.
The arm does stick out a little bit, but a part of it is covered. And then when it returns, it almost just looks like we're returning to a normal idle animation. So I don't know. I don't know if Lazy Bear has caught this. There's no highlight on us. The laser doesn't seem to be particularly keeping an eye on us here. This will be the real test. Ponytail walking over to the other side of the venue. Lazy Bear not really keeping an
No.
eye on
Yeah.
where she's going at all. I don't think we're a suspect.
I don't think we are either. And I mean, the way that we're just keeping Amba in spot, which is good, as a sniper, you're always trying to get the Amba in spot. But I think David W got away with that clean. Thankfully, we got that flirt before our seduction target left. But all we need to do for David W, memes aside, is put the foot on the pedal here and get some missions done.
Yeah, you can't do the statues right now. I thought David might have been walking over to try to do them, found that they were both occupied, but that's okay. The seduction target was off in this direction. We didn't hit the green flirt, so we are going to need one more, but a minute 20 is still enough time to get one more flirt, one contact, and go do the inspects. As long as David doesn't get nervous, think he's more of a suspect than he is, then it should be fine. Going into the statues, we pick up a highlight, but nothing else. Is Lazy Bear considering a bullet on us? It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I think maybe we would do something if there's a contact after this, but with just how much that Lazy has been focusing and watching on Amba, you kind of have to think, I don't think I've missed a bug, right? So you're just not going to shoot someone for inspect, seduce, and contact, but we'll have to see right here.
There's going to be a lot of movement. We have to enter this conversation. We have to talk somewhat soon because we will need time to go get the contact later. David is waiting a little bit. If anything could sink him here, it could be some behavioralism from Lazy Bear. If Lazy Bear notices that Ponytail is walking around a lot, we take a drink as an excuse to leave conversation. Double Agent is over in the other conversation now. We've got 20 seconds left to fire off this banana bread. The sooner we do it, the better, because if she leaves, we will be in real trouble. David firing it off right away. It is a white test, but Lazy Bear not really looking
Banana
at that
bread.
side of the venue at all,
And
just taking
taking
lowlights from this
lowlights.
contact. Lazy thinks that the spy is about to time out, and he's about to be very, very surprised when David pulls off the spy win and takes the lead.
Wow, and I think this is going to be one of those. Like, I don't know if Lazy watches this replay. Definitely going to be a little bit hard on themselves. That's just one of those things where it's like it was right in front of your eyes, but the laser doesn't always show where you're focusing or paying attention. I think that was just a momentary, again, lapse of judgment and maybe looking at the other side of the venue, looking for maybe possibly at the Toby's tray. But going up 5-3 here, if David W gets this sniper win 6-3, I don't see David W losing. But again, Lazy Bear.
Yeah, so far the set has not at all gone like I expected. I certainly expected Balcony to maybe go 3-3, but I didn't expect it in that way with David taking those confident sniper shots and then getting a final third point when Lazy Bear, phantoms a bug. That was certainly unexpected. And then going into Courtyard, I thought it might be a battle of attrition, but right at the start, David pulled out a win thanks to that great reverse drive-by bug and then just pulling off the pacing really well to get those final three missions without accruing any more suspicion. Lazy Bear's really going to have to fight to bring it back here. A green flirt, though, with our seduction target right at the start is a good way to do that.
Yeah, and I like that we're doing this and starting a little bit more aggressive with our flirt. If we we've looked at our previous games, Lazybear has just been super respectful on the side of flirts, which is a good thing to do against Davidw. But we've been so respectful in the sense that, it's kind of slowed down and changed some of the pacing to our spy game. So I'd like Lazy to kind of go back to maybe doing and playing the way they want to play and not letting David kind of, push him into the way that David wants him to play.
Yeah, and David, like we said, is really on top of flirt tracking. But look at our position here. There is an entire person between us and our seduction target. So if we can hit another green flirt here, which we do, Lazy Bear is so good at hitting those greens. Now we've got all the rest of our time to head out and do other missions, and I don't think we could be flirt paired at all.
Nope. And I think this is really going to allow Lazy to play this type of game that they want to play. Now, at Courtyard, that can be a little difficult, but I think this at least taking that pressure of having to go back into a conversation, to talk, to move around a lot. So we'll have to see what Lazy's Bear plan is for this game.
Yeah, it looks like we're just heading over to a window here. A time ad would be really dangerous. You got caught for the last one. If you're considering another one here, yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think it's better to just walk away from that window. We are redirecting. We are pretending. We are pretending that we've been called over to this statue to swap it.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a good call. And I don't know, I don't even know who was back there, but Lazy deciding not to swap just picks up the inspects. Did Lazy get two inspects in one cycle there?
Yeah, well, I don't know. The most recent person at that statue was a double agent, actually. So I don't know if Lazy Bear was considering going
Banana
for a
bread.
swap, but then realized at the last moment that he shouldn't. I don't know. It's very confusing. But either way, we've entered and
Oh
taken our
my.
contact. And David shooting for just 3 missions.
David is scary right now, and I don't know if that's just a little bit of behavioralism there, being the person coming from statues into a double agent conversation circle there, and that that's such a David is scary right now.
Yeah, that's a really sick shot. Do you think there's any chance that he noticed the redirect and thought it was weird enough that he could be that certain to take a shot?
I don't think so, honestly. When I think of David sniping, I don't think looking at redirects, bounces, and that kind of stuff that's not really his forte or what he notices. For instance, if we look at the balcony game, there was times where the AI bounced, there was no low light given, there was times where AI was taking a drink or something during those aren't necessarily the things that I feel like David is paying attention to. But I do think maybe going from statue into contact, I don't know. It's just such a confident shot, though.
Yeah, and the other possible thing, I know I said that we couldn't necessarily be flirt paired, but if David is looking for those flirts, he could have noticed that Duke started in one conversation next to someone, spoke again 45 seconds later, and after the second talk, leaves the conversation and goes elsewhere. That's a very spy-like thing to do, right? Waiting for a timer flirt and then leaving as soon as it's done. It could have been noticed.
Yeah, and I mean it's he's just one of those players where he doesn't play, the standard style, which makes, David Sniper so fun and enjoyable to watch. Similar to Spy, it's just not what you're used to seeing. And so David on Spy here, trying to win it, but Lazy Bear trying to spoil it and can still get a tie. Still get a tie. And so that's what Lazy Bear is really pushing for here, but David is looking good.
Yeah, I mean, he can still get a tie is not usually something that you say when you're talking about Lazy Bear. Usually such a dominant player, but to claw back from being behind like this, it's very hard. David going to be hitting a green purloin here. Toby going to be offering to Salmon next, and we are dashing out of there. If the reject was seen, this behavior looks very suspicious. Salmon is going to take the list. Is Lazy Bear looking at it? Immediately zooms in afterwards, but does he know who was in the reject chain?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about here, and we'll have to see if the highlight comes out on us, but what made that really tricky is that while the purloin was happening, somebody was coming up to Amba at statue, and so we couldn't maybe have seen who it really came from. And I think that's why we're seeing these kind of two conversations still not fully low lit, which is actually a good sign for David here.
Yeah, it's a really good sign. It doesn't look like we're a major suspect for this. However, the party is still very narrowed down. And if David wants to actually complete missions, he's going to have to do a banana bread, which will probably knock out maybe one or two more people, or at the very least would narrow down who has real. And then he
Banana
still
bread.
has to go to inspect.
Yeah, I mean, for David, what you're hoping is that, the people that are still up, they become active and they go to
Oh.
statues at least. But
Oh, this
uh,
is really bad. We did a fake banana bread, but we're the only neutral light to be in conversation with a double agent, and it wasn't even the real one. So we just put a ton of extra suspicion on ourselves, and we didn't even get the mission for it. We're going into a fingerprintable statue now. Normally, I would think that was good, but as the only person with the real BB, yeah, Lazy Bear just takes the shot.
wow, and that's a part of that. Wait, actually, yeah. Now that you bring that up, that couldn't have been any more unlucky. The fake there wasn't too bad, but the fact that nobody else was in for any of it just puts so much more attention on us. And then we're the first person to go to statue. We don't know where the purloin came from. Yeah, that's a very reasonable shot from Lazy.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate for David there. I mean, he had no reason to suspect that the one person he was in conversation with was the SDA. Cuz if that was actually a good fake and David was with, a civilian and the SDA or even the double agent was in conversation with some of the other neutralites, it would have put a lot more pressure on Lazy Bear and we could have even seen a civ shot, but sometimes you get unlucky like that. That's the danger. That's the danger with fake banana breads. But it means Lazy Bear is still in this. Lazy Bear would need to get 2 more points here. He would need to get a spy win to bring this back to a tie.
Yeah, and I think this is very clearly the make or break game. But I have no doubt that if Lazy Bear can win as spy here, they have a very good chance of coming out of this with a tie. But if David W can win right here, obviously it's GG's.
Yeah, and we had some people saying in chat that, some of David's shots have looked very, very impressive when he takes a shot on the spy before they've even finished missions. But sometimes that means that the sniper is, trusting their intuition, they're shooting on a hunch, and sometimes it ends up with civilians shot. If David takes another shot on someone like he did last time, who doesn't even have a fourth mission, we could see a civilian shot here.
Yeah, and we're right next to Amba here. I wouldn't be surprised to see, I don't know, something, whether it's a Twitch bug or just a plain old standing bug. And we're
That's a Twitch bug.
rotating. I think that's clean.
I think so too. I think Lazy Bear got away with it.
Banana bread.
Now the contact is coming out as well. Lazy Bear's got a big full conversation of people here. And if he's not suspected for that bug, it's going to be an exact reverse. It's going to be an exact reverse of what happened when David got the bug in that earlier game.
Yeah, and this is interesting. And again, we have to remember, and this is something I wanted to talk about for Lazy Bear's last spy game. Sometimes you just have so much respect for a certain player's spy. You say, you know what? There's a good chance that they got something past me. And Lazy Bear is one of those spies where if I see somebody finishing or being sus at the end of the game, I think to myself, you know what? There's a good chance Lazy got something past me here. And so we're just going to have to see if David's able to take a, as an aggressive shot as last game.
Yeah, unfortunately, the seduction target has really not been nice to us. She left the conversation as soon as we joined. She slotted herself in. She was between Boots and Salmon right behind us. Couldn't flirt with her. There's no way we can make it to her in time at these windows. Oh, maybe we could have. She checks her watch. Maybe Lazy Bear's kicking himself for not going all the way to her because he actually could have gotten it. She's
Wow.
now
Our
too. He
seduction
could have
target.
gotten it. She is staying at that window pad for so long. Now she's on the move and she's so slow. Are we really going to be able to make it over and join her and get 3 flirts? A green would be really helpful, but
Oh
no, for
no,
what
it's a
feels like the
white.
first time all night, Lazy Bear doesn't hit the green flirt. How is he going to finish now?
I think we're gonna have to get in a spot where we can. Is it gonna be a swap or a purloin? You think?
No, we just have to loop around the venue and return to her just like that. The flirt cooldown hasn't expired, though. We didn't walk far enough away. We would need to flirt now and then walk around the whole venue and then do it. There's the flirt. 10 seconds? It's not going to be enough time. There's no way you can make it back and get that flirt. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. We're going to make it just in time. But the cooldown, the flirt cooldown didn't expire. And Lazy Bear times out.
Wow. And I don't know. I feel like at that point, once sorry I was being that way, and we didn't get that first green flirt. I think we have to abandon flirt at that point.
Yeah, but what do you do if you abandon flirt? You would have to go do a swap or a purloin. You would have to do a hard tell when you've already done the inspects. It would have been oh god, it would have been so hard to get away with that. A time ad might have been the better option there, right? Because even if the sniper catches the time ad, they don't necessarily assume you're finishing with a flirt, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you think, remember, we were at Windows next to Sorry, not on the same pad, with about 45, 50 seconds left. Maybe you think there, hey, we have 0% flirt this entire time. But to me, this is going back to, again, how Lazybear was just respecting David W's flirt pairing early in the game. And so they didn't get a flirt until literally 30, 40 seconds remaining in the game.
Yeah, and it's so tragic. If Sari hadn't left that conversation, if she hadn't slotted herself in between two people, we would have been able to get the flirt. But uh, I think if we could go back in time, David would prefer to get that flirt when she was in conversation. Even if we weren't right next to her, it would have at least given us a little bit of progress. And the fact that the green flirts didn't come in when he needed them, when he's otherwise been hitting them all night, it's so sad. But that's David's seventh point. That's a hex for Team Red, which you do happen to be the captain
Banana
of. Isn't
bread.
that right?
I do happen to be the captain, and I made some good picks, some good calls. But David there, I think most people were like, okay, if we get a tie on that tile, if you tie Lazy Bear, that's amazing. We're happy with that. But David W pulling out the win here, to me, is an underdog, not the largest underdog of all time, but winning that hex is absolutely massive for this tournament.
Yeah, and of course we do generally try to be impartial when we're casting, but this is a team tournament and we are on David W's team. So I apologize if we're excited, but it is a very impressive underdog victory. We're just watching the 12th game play out here. David can see if he can get another spy win. Every point that you get on a venue does help your team. We could get a courtyard bonus in the end. And David
Wow.
does pull it off. He
Wow.
frame swaps. And Lazybear takes the bait.
Just bravo to David this set. David did very well. I think let's think about the games. We think about the balcony game that David W lost where they had the Civ shot, which again was a very reasonable Civ shot. You're playing against Lazy. But David W played court well, played Courtyard so well. And that was just another example of a different play style that David W pulled out there with the swap, and Lazy happens to bite.
Yeah, really well done to David. Getting a win against Lazybear is impressive for sure. The balcony games, those were some very interesting balcony games. Just because both players played completely differently. We saw Lazybear twice go for that spy strategy where he purposefully doesn't flirt to try to pick up the low light. It was very clear playstyle differences between the two of them.
Yeah, 100%. And like Sheep's saying in chat here, those early shots, I think they really do pay off because it's one of those things where it's like you're kind of, and I get this way too. If I'm getting shot for when I'm not at 4 missions for like if I do a stupid bug, sure, I plan. But if I'm getting shot at random times, there's nothing more in the world that annoys me because it's like, what am I doing wrong? What is this person seeing? And like, what do I do to stop it? And David W just kept going with those shots, and I think it definitely paid off.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Of course, we saw both players get really good bugs on Courtyard. If Lazy Bear hadn't had that uncooperative ST, I think he would have gotten the win on that one, and it would have been possible for him to bring it back up to a tie. Because, of course, if the set wasn't already over and Lazy Bear was still in striking distance for a tie, that last
Hmm.
game may have gone completely differently. The psychology of
100%.
the players completely chanes, once
Yeah.
someone's already got match point.
Agree. All right. So I just want to say GG's to David W. Amazing set there. Great play. And that's just, again, shutting down a little bit of the Revolutions, adjacency bonuses, and picking up some Disco Inferno adjacency. So really big tile, really big win there. GG's to David W. I got to go play my match. I'm playing.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know if you guys have heard Opie, new player on the
Mhm.
scene. Not very good. I got to play them.
Yeah, so the next match we have coming up on this channel is going to be T-Flame versus Opie Rights. Now, while you're still here, T-Flame, I know we planned that you would play this match when the David W. Lazy Bear match finishes, so you were aiming for around 6:30. Do you think you're still going to go on schedule there, or will you and Opie be ready to play in a couple minutes?
So I know when I Discord messaged Opie, I pretty much just said whenever the game's done. So it wasn't necessarily strict 6:30, but whenever that set was done, we would kind of start ours. So let me get a hold of Opie. If we want to go on a slight pause here to see what we're going to do next, that would be great.
Great. All right. Well, Lino is our host today. Lino, if you would like to bring us over to a break, everyone can go grab some water, and then we be back in a couple of minutes for another very crucial tile between T Flame, who is a team captain, and Opie Wrights, who is basically the other star player on the purple team, nearly equivalent to Lazy Bear when it comes to experience in the game.